under 4.5. Make the mesh plane. Edit mode. Subdivide, subdivide. Now we got a couple extra slices going. Get out of edit mode. We make ourselves a cube. We shrink that cube down up a little bit. Parent to the plane. Turn off instance those cubes on the surface. Cubes are a little big, so shrink them down to 0.5. Surface. There you go. Cool. Add a modifier that adds more subdivision. Divide surface. Cut it a couple more times. You want to do that to the plane. As you can see, as we subdivide it, you get more. But now we have that in order. Step is use another modifier. Tree. Using a displace modifier. See, it went up once we told it to displace by an image and find an image, in this case an animation, of a duck map. The band playing. So as we refresh to see the frames, you can see the resolution is a little low, but it's starting to do what it needs to. Back to the subdivision and add more subdivisions. Turn off this so it's easier to see. 90 degrees in the x-axis. Resemblance of it. Turn up one more detail. Cubes are starting to overlap a little bit, so you could scale those down. 5. There we go. Scale it by the x-axis. Basics of the effect. How deep it is. Bunch of squares that are separate from that. I can turn off the plane. So that creates that effect of putting cubes on the surface and animating the cubes around. And then the next step is taking that surface and adding color to it. And in this case, red. And if we turn on the displaced image, we set up so everything that goes back in the scene gets darker, lighter as it comes closer to the camera, depending on the shot, brightens and darkens. This version, it was changing colors. This is another version though, experimenting more in this one. See how we use this to control the colors though in the cubes, and the distance to camera gives you that effect. So that gets us the color on the cubes and the cubes animating and then the back disappearing back here. So once I figured all that out, oops, let me show you the rest of it actually. It's that effect going. All these cubes kind of didn't get enough detail, so I went in there and I added an extra layer of noise to help busy it up. So you have this going on top of the main display, so everything has a little bit of extra jitter going on. Keeps everything a little more alive. Then the other problem I had is these hard edges where the scene ended in certain shots. So this, the solution, adding a scatter near the edges as well. And I smooth that out in later versions, but a combination of the displace, the extra subdivide, the small bit of noise, and a couple other effects gives you the basics of really getting the animation busy and a lot more alive. Worked and we could change colors, and this gave a good proof of concept. Got that working, the next step was to figure out how to have the Thanos kind of shedding particles effect, and that's when all of a sudden I decided to get into geometry nodes. First attempt in geometry nodes for me, so it was fun to learn. Figuring out these shedding particles, and I was like, well, I could hook that to the surface I have, plus the cubes, so now I've got cubes shedding and cubes dancing. And you put all that together to get the final product, which is dancing cubes on a plane plus shedding surface. The extra effects of solving and putting back together. But you see the same concept comes throughout the whole thing in the end. We use flashes and we use inverted. So this is where compositing comes in. Let me go back to have it. Yep. So here we had the general effect, but we didn't have the compositing to give it that nice chromatic aberrations and stuff. So if we go to the compositing section, I added an extra bloom, and the lens distortion, which gave us the chromatic aberrations on the sides for free. So that's where you get that extra lensing effect from. That comes through in the final version, and that's where I also flipped to inverted colors as well. Spread particles, make them stretched out. Create this boil effect here. Take the crackle effect and invert it so it almost kind of boiled a little bit around the character. Effect to explode it.